The European Union have finally given up. For the past few months, since January when we stopped being a member, Ursula von der Leyen and her team have been trying to find ways to negotiate in a way that will keep Britain tied to the European Union. They've been trying to avoid a Canada-style trade deal. They even begged the UK recently to consider extending the Brexit transition. Obviously, that didn't happen last week. And today, we have confirmation from both sides that they have now agreed to ratify a Canada-style Brexit trade deal by the end of December. So the one thing that she was trying to avoid, she's now been forced into it because of Boris Johnson and David Frost, who have been strong on this and the deadline of December. This is great news. We're going to talk about Ursula and her statement from earlier. But before that, the BBC. As you saw in the last video, we talked about how the biased BBC have now hired an anti-Boris, anti-Brexit person to be in charge of their impartiality. Yeah, and there are a number of groups and campaigns right now against the BBC. You have the Axe the TV license in the past. You now have obviously Defund the BBC and various others. Defund the BBC is actually founded by a young Tory member, James, and I've asked him to come on the show to promote his campaign. It's a good cause. There are also about 2 or 3 petitions going around against the BBC. And on this channel, we've also launched our new merch with a similar slogan: defund the BBC, cancelling your TV license and watching my Tousi instead. This is not affiliated with the actual Defund the BBC campaign. That's a different website founded by James. But you could find the link in the description for these t-shirts. It's not just black and white, you could get various colors as well. So check out the links in the description. Get your t-shirts now. The summer is coming. It's hot. You need t-shirts. Now, Ursula, let's talk about the statement that we have from both parties. The parties have now agreed that the new momentum is required. They have supported the new plans that has been agreed by David Frost and Michel Barnier to intensify the talks in July. And the idea is to ratify a deal before the end of 2020, because obviously by the end of December, that's when we'll fully take back control of our sovereignty and democracy. And this should now include, if possible, finding an early understanding on the principles underlying any agreement. Now, let's listen to Ursula von der Leyen's statement from earlier today.
We supported the plans agreed by chief negotiators to intensify the talks in July and to create the most conducive conditions for concluding and ratifying a deal before the end of 2020. This should include, if possible, finding an early understanding on the principles underlying any agreement. We underlined our intention to work hard to deliver a relationship which would work in the interests of the citizens of the Union and of the United Kingdom. We also confirmed our commitment to the full and timely implementation of the withdrawal agreement.
Now, what I love about this is that you could see in her face that she's not really happy. And she's been, as I said, for the past 6 months, she was trying to avoid this, even though Michel Barnier and the others proposed this idea of a Canada-style trade deal 2-3 years ago. And then they changed their mind because of Angela Merkel and the others who wanted to find a way to trick us into staying tied to the EU. This is no longer happening. And David Frost, again, has been very impressive with the way he's handled the situation. One of the few civil servants that I respect. And so he's been pretty amazing. Now, it's Monday, so I'm going to answer the questions we have received from our members of this channel. We have a number of questions, and it's not just about Brexit, it's about what's happening on the streets with the new Marxists. So, Steve says, how do we combat the Marxists' agenda with everything stacked against the left, centre and right, with the Marxist infiltration of schools, university and media, to name but a few? This is very difficult, Steve, because it's not the first time. The last video we interviewed Konstantin Kissing, the comedian who was born in the Soviet Union, moved to the UK. He did mention that this is an agenda that started about 60 years ago. They took over academia and then the political system and then media. At this point, the problem is academia is difficult to kind of obtain at the because of the way right-wingers and left-wingers view education. But the media is the best route, because that's what these people use to manipulate public opinion. And with the rise of new alternative media, again, YouTube, podcasts, anything that's not the BBC, is our best way to counter this culture and raise awareness. It's not an easy fight. It's not, because they have infiltrated the education system. That's the main problem. You do have to do something about that. Polly says, "Hi Maya, do you think the government are aware of the anarchist agenda of the BLM movement? Surely the government should know and they track them and all that." Yeah, absolutely. I mean, we could always criticize the politicians in government, whether it's the Prime Minister or the Home Secretary, in terms of sending their messages. And Boris Johnson has been quite weak on this so far. He's been quite late to the party. Again, Konstantin in the last video mentioned that the fear was that if he comes out strong at the beginning, and if something happens, like an incident with the police and one of the marchers, the peaceful marchers, then the government will lose credibility. That's one point of view. But at the same time, obviously, the government, the Home Office and others are keeping track of these groups, these individuals. It's just, what they would do about them is different. Mary Davis says, "What would you do if you were mayor, Maya?" Mayor Maya. Hypothetically, if I were mayor, there's a number of things, obviously, that needs to be done. There are specific policies that the next mayor, hopefully not Sadiq Khan, has to do. Primarily when it comes to housing and planning, because right now Sadiq Khan is essentially using the public land to pretend that he's doing something. When you have certain aspects of brown belt being sold to us as green belt clearly needs to be protected, but there are parts of the brown belt that could easily be built on, and you need to liberalize the planning system. That's the first thing to do. The second thing is actually draining the swamp of City Hall. There's a lot of people who are just getting money doing nothing. There's a massive PR team for Sadiq Khan. That has to go. It's just that you do need a bit of a shake-up in the whole system, and in London, the policing is also the biggest priority. But there are a number of things that the next mayor, whoever is going to be, has to do, which I don't think at this point the main two parties, the main two candidates, Sean Bailey and Sadiq Khan, are brave enough to raise these issues. This is the problem we have. So we need an independent candidate who's non-tribal or non-partisan to be able to be flexible, to raise the important issues so that Londoners are aware of the choices that they have. That's all I can say. Chris says, "Do you think the government should be clarifying the objectives of BLM, since so many people are endorsing them?" Not just the government. This is the responsibility of our nationalized TV channel, the BBC. The BBC Charter always talks about how it's public duty to inform the public on various issues. Educate. It's your job. And yes, the government, you could use a number of campaigns to talk about the real agenda. Just expose them. It's got nothing to do with justice or any of the things that are race related. It's not that. It is about capitalism versus communism. That's all they want. They want to bring down the system and give us North Korea. Well done, guys. But there will be others like us that will keep talking about this until people realize what the truth is. Next question, Maya. "I hate the EU and what it stands for. Do you think that they should have modeled the EU on the Commonwealth of Nations? All member states of the Commonwealth are free and independent nations and free to make free trade agreements." Well, this would be ideal and I would definitely support it, but the problem is this was never on the table. The European Union, the Europhiles, the Federalists always wanted a United States of Europe. They just couldn't do it instantly. So they started from coal and steel and then moved on to the community with the trade zone. And they keep calling it a trade bloc, free trade bloc. It's not. It's a protectionist bloc. It's against trade. And now it's a political union, and they're going to go further with the defense union and everything else. You'll never have these people actually considering an actual Commonwealth style of a union. So unfortunately, that will never happen. Now, as we said at the beginning of the video, we mentioned the BBC a lot. Don't forget to check out the Twitter account, Defund the BBC. Support the campaign, follow that Twitter account. Also, there are a number of petitions. I couldn't find the links, but you could always Google them, find and support the petitions. And don't forget to support the channel by checking out the link in the description, getting your own t-shirts. And as I mentioned earlier, the t-shirts are not linked to the other Defund the BBC campaign. This is obviously just a slogan that others have been using. It's not trademarked. I did not register this. And yes, so get your t-shirts, support the movement, and don't forget to subscribe to the channel. Click on the bell next to it so you get notified. We have a daily show at 5:45 p.m. and at 8 p.m. on my TC. I'll see you guys tomorrow with a new video.